Hello class, today is April the 20th and this is the first lecture on Oedipus at Colonus. We're going to get approximately halfway through the book. I'm picking out particular scenes that I think are most important to the play. So a quick introduction to Oedipus at Colonus. You've already read Oedipus the King, and chronologically this is the second of the three plays, and we're reading them chronologically, but in the order that Sophocles wrote the plays, this came last. And now that you've read all of Oedipus at Colonus, I think, maybe you have not yet, it ends on a note of hope. It ends on a high note. And so the whole trilogy begins kind of in darkness and ends in light. And so we'll pick up on those notes of hope as we go through the book. But it's also, it's one where we see a chastened Oedipus. He is very confident in his abilities in Oedipus the King, but he is quite different here. He has been brought low. He has been wandering for quite a long time. And so we're going to get into the text, and I'll trace some of the themes as we go. I'll read bits and then make comments, and we'll go from there. So get your books. If you don't have your book already, get your book and get a notebook to jot down some notes. And we'll start at the beginning, which has Oedipus and his daughter Antigone in the Grove of the Furies at Colonus. And several years have passed since Oedipus was expelled from Thebes. He enters from the left, the direction of that city, a broken, blind old man in filthy rags, led by a young woman, his daughter Antigone. So if you remember, at the end of Oedipus the King, Creon brings his daughters out to say goodbye, and they're very small. And so years have passed, and now Antigone is a young woman. Okay, so starting with Oedipus. This is on page 283. My child, child of the blind old man, Antigone, where are we now? What land, what city of men? Who will receive this wandering Oedipus today, not with gifts, but a pittance? It's a little I ask and get still less, but quite enough for me. Acceptance, that is the great lesson suffering teaches. Suffering in the long years, my close companions, yes, and nobility too, my royal birthright. So wandering has become a way of life for Oedipus. He used to receive gifts when he was king. Now he begs for gifts and begs really just for a pittance. He used to receive royal gifts, and now he hopes just to get crumbs, and he says, that would be enough for me. When he says this, that would be quite enough for me, it shows that Oedipus has descended. He has descended from his greatness, but by the end of the play, he will ascend. He will come to a new place. Child, look, do you see some place to rest? Public grounds or groves reserved for the gods? Give me your arm and sit me down. We must find out where we are. We have come to learn from the citizens, strangers from citizens, and carry out their wishes to the end. Antigone says, Father, old and broken Oedipus, the towers crowning the city, so far as I can see, are still a good way off. But this is holy ground. You can sense it clearly. Why, it's bursting with laurel, olives, grapes, and deep in its heart, listen, nightingales, the rustle of wings, they're breaking into song. Here, bend a knee and sit. It's a rough rock, Father, but then for an old man, you have come a long, hard way from home. So it's a rough rock, but Oedipus has been treated roughly. He has a toughness gathered about him, and so the roughness of the rock would probably be suitable for Oedipus. And Antigone can sense that they're on holy ground just by the character of it, and indeed they are on holy ground. We're going to skip now over to page 285 where the citizen comes in. And the citizen says, Stop! No more questions, not till you leave that seat. Get up! It's holy ground. You mustn't walk on it. Oedipus, what is this ground? What god is worshipped here? Citizen, it's untouchable, forbidden. No one lives here. The terrible goddesses hold it for themselves, the daughters of the earth, daughters of the darkness. Oedipus, who? Tell me their awesome names so I can pray to them. So Oedipus misses the crucial point that it's forbidden even to be there to pray. You're not supposed to be there at all. Citizen, The ones who watch the world, the kindly ones, the Eumenides. That's what people call them here. In other places, other names are proper. So the Eumenides is the name given to those who used to be called the Furies. And this reaches into other parts of mythology. The playwright Aeschylus covers this in his Orestia, which I talked about a couple of lectures ago, which started with Agamemnon's death, and then Orestes' killing of Aegisthus and Clytemnestra, and then his trial by the Furies in the third play, who are then renamed the Eumenides, the kindly ones. And yet they're still to be feared because this is holy ground, and Oedipus and Antigone are not to be there. But in response to this, Oedipus says, "Oh, then let them receive their suppliant with kindness. I shall never leave my place in this new land. This is my refuge." Citizen, what do you mean? Oedipus, this is the sign, the pact that seals my fate. And then there's a delay in finding out exactly why Oedipus considers this his refuge and the pact that seals his fate. Kind of like there have been delays in other parts of the revelation of who Oedipus is. And there's a delay here. And it's explained on page 289. So skip over to 289. Oedipus reaches out his hands in prayer and says, "You queens of terror, faces filled with dread, since yours is the first holy ground where I've sat down to rest in this new land, I beg you, don't be harsh to Apollo, harsh to me. When the god cried out those lifelong prophecies of doom, he spoke of this as well, my promised rest, after hard years weathered. I will reach my goal, he said, my haven, where I find the grounds of the awesome goddesses and make their home my home. There I will round the last turn in the torment of my life. A blessing to the hosts I live among, disaster to those who sent me, drove me out. And he warned me signs of all these things will come in earthquake, thunder perhaps, or the flashing bolt of Zeus." So there's a lot to unpack there. He says, I beg you, don't be harsh to Apollo, harsh to me. When the god cried out those lifelong prophecies of doom, he spoke of this as well. The lifelong prophecies of doom were the prophecies that Oedipus would kill his father and marry his mother. But Oedipus says, and this was not given to us in the previous play, Oedipus says that at the same time that the oracle came to Oedipus, he also spoke of this, that after hard years, he would find a place of rest. He would find the grounds of the awesome goddesses and make their home his home. And he would be a blessing to those in whose land he inhabited, and he would be a curse to those who drove him out. Well, we know who drove him out. We know that Thebes drove him out, that Creon drove him out, even though it was by his own request. Creon drove him out. And yet now here he is in Colonus, which is roughly would be Athens, and that Oedipus would be a blessing to Athens if he were allowed to remain there with in that holy ground, the place of the awesome goddesses. And that's kind of the plot of the whole play here. And all these signs, all these things would come in earthquake, thunder, or the flashing bolt of Zeus, and that comes later. And so he believes that he has been led to this place. It was no accident. He didn't just stumble upon this grove of holy ground, that he is led there and he is rounding the last corner in his tormented life. Okay, well, the citizen is not going to just accept that outright. He has to go consult the king, King Theseus. And Oedipus is surprised that Theseus would actually have anything to do with Oedipus. But that's where the citizen goes. And others from the chorus come to, other citizens from the town come, they form the chorus, and they come to interrogate Oedipus about who he is. So let's see where to pick up here. They do tell him, and this is an interesting thing. This is on page 293. Oedipus says, midway through the page, "O strangers, let me suffer no injustice. Now I have trusted you. Now I have left my shelter." So he's evacuated the holy ground, moved away from that place, but he is still refusing to leave entirely. But he's saying, don't attack me just because I am now off the goddess's ground. And the chorus says, and this is key, never, no one will ever drag you from this place of rest. Never, old man, not against your will. And they say this not knowing who Oedipus is. When they find out who Oedipus is, they kind of wish they could have changed their mind about their promise to protect Oedipus. And then later Creon comes, and they are bound to defend Oedipus because they have promised that no one could drag him from that ground by force. Okay, so that promise is in play in the plot. And now we go to page 295, midway through the page. The chorus begins to ask who this is. Who is this stranger who has stumbled upon their holy ground and now is under their protection? The chorus says, so helpless. There now, rest at ease and tell us, who were your parents? Who are you, old man, led by the hand in hardship? Tell us, what's your fatherland? And their question, who were your parents? That was Tiresias's question back in Oedipus the King, when he levels with Oedipus and says, who are your parents? Oedipus says, fatherland, friends? I am an exile. Oh, but don't. In other words, don't go there. Don't make me talk about who I am. And the leader says, don't what, old man? What are you holding back? Oedipus, no, don't ask who I am. No more probing, testing. Stop. No more. He fears having to tell the truth. He does not want to tell them who he is. Leader, what? Why? Oedipus, my birth, so dreadful. Leader, more. Speak up. So the more that Oedipus doesn't want to tell, the more they press him to tell. Oedipus, my child, oh, what can I say? Leader, what is your lineage, stranger? Tell us, who was your father? And there's a particular point of pain for Oedipus and who his father was. Oedipus, God help me. Dear girl, what must I suffer now? Antigone, say it. You're driven right to the edge. There's no going back, just like in the earlier play when Oedipus said, I'm on the edge of hearing horrors. He's on the edge of saying who he is, and Antigone says, you might as well just tell them who you are. Oedipus, then speak I will, no way to hide it now. Leader, you're wasting time, the two of you, out with it quickly. Oedipus, do you know the son of Laius? Oh, so he's just wading into it very delicately, very gently, not saying exactly who he is, but he says, do you know a son of Laius? He doesn't come right out with his own name. And the leader, oh no! There's an immediate recognition with just one clue. Do you know who the son of Laius is? And all of a sudden the whole story appears to the leader and to the chorus. Oedipus has become what in the Bible and in the Psalms and in the prophets, Oedipus has become a byword. It didn't take much for the people to recognize who he is because the story is so scandalous. Oedipus, born of the royal blood of Thebes? Leader, dear God. Oedipus, and the wretched, suffering Oedipus? He finally names himself at last. Leader, you're that man? And they had no idea, and if they had known, they might not have placed him under their protection or promised that he would never be dragged from there. Oedipus, please don't be afraid, whatever I say. Leader, oh! Oedipus, my destiny, very hard. Drawing back, but the chorus all but drowns his words with cries of horror. There's shock and horror and outrage as he tries to explain himself. There's just kind of pandemonium in the crowd. Antigone, what will they do to us now? Leader, out with you, out of our country, far away. Oedipus, but your promise, won't you make good on your promise? That promise is all Oedipus has to cling to. Will they honor their promise? The promise they made that he would not be driven out against his will. Okay, and they recognize, over time, they recognize, yes, we have to protect him. And this is where Theseus is going to weigh in on things. And let me find where... Well, then the next thing that happens is that Ismene, one of his daughters, comes to visit as well. And she has not been like Antigone, helping her father as a wanderer, but she comes and she updates him on the war between the civil war in Thebes between Oedipus's two sons, Eteocles and Polynices. And Oedipus recognizes that they have not cared about their father. They have not come out to see him. They have not come out to help him. Instead, they've left it to Antigone to do. So Oedipus really doesn't have much to do with his sons. But Ismene has come to warn him and come to maybe encourage him. It's kind of difficult to tell exactly what her goal is. But she comes with news. And so this is on page 306. She talks about prophecies. And we also see Oedipus's love for questions, his love for investigative questions. So Oedipus says, "What are they? What are the prophecies, my child?" Ismene, soon the men of Thebes will want you greatly, once you are dead, and even while you're alive. They need you for their welfare, their survival. And so she's saying, you have a part to play, Dad, and they're coming for you. Oedipus, what good could anyone get from the likes of me? He can't imagine that he has any value. Ismene, they are in your hands, the oracle says. Their power rests in you. So Oedipus holds the upper hand. Oedipus, so when I am nothing, then I am a man? Ismene, yes, the gods are about to raise you to your feet. Till now they were bent on your destruction. And it's already happened with Oedipus arriving at the holy ground, at the ground of the Eumenides. Oedipus, it cost them little to raise an old man, someone crushed in younger days. Ismene, that may be, but Creon, at any rate, make no mistake, he's coming for you, for just this reason. Soon, not late, I warn you. Oedipus, to do what, my child? Be clearer, tell me. So again, more questions. Ismene, to settle you near the fatherland of Thebes, to have you in their power, but you may not set foot within your borders. So Creon needs Oedipus. He has some kind of value, some kind of power, and yet they won't let him actually into Thebes. They won't let him back into his land. Oedipus, what earthly use am I to them, deposited beyond the gates? Ismene, your tomb will curse them if it lacks the proper rites. Oedipus, of course, it takes no god from the blue to teach us that. And that theme about not giving a body its proper rights will factor heavily into Antigone, which again is the first play in this cycle. And so somebody watching this would have picked up on Antigone for sure. Ismene, that's why they want to keep you close at hand, a good strong ally, not in a land where you can be your own master. Oedipus, but surely they will shroud my corpse with Theban dust. So he's thinking that if he goes back, maybe they will actually bury him in Thebes. Ismene, no, not with your father's blood on your hands. That's forbidden, father. Oedipus, then they will never get me in their clutches. Never. So Oedipus has enough dignity to say, I will not just be used. I will not be used as a piece of power for Creon. If I'm not going to be buried in my fatherland, then nobody will take me by force. Ismene, then someday this will be a heavy curse on Thebes. And so she's wondering, why would you want to curse Thebes? Oedipus, how, child? When? What fatal rendezvous? Ismene, that day, by the force of your great rage, that day they take their stand upon your tomb. So when Thebes attacks when Thebes attacks Athens, Oedipus will be buried in Athens and he'll benefit the Athenians. So it's looking ahead to the war between Thebes and Athens, and Oedipus being buried in Athens and being of benefit to the Athenians. Okay, let's see where to go from there. I think there's a part that I did want to cover that I may have inadvertently skipped. So let me check real quick and go back to that. Okay, page 299. Page 299 gives us, this speech from Oedipus, gives us some insight into now how he sees his guilt and the acts that he did unknowingly. So, page 299. It's a lengthy, but it's an important speech. Then what's the good of glory, magnificent renown, if in its flow it streams away to nothing? If Athens, Athens, is that rock of reverence all men say it is, the only city on earth to save the ruined stranger, the only one to protect him, give him shelter, where are such kindnesses for me? First you raise me up from my seat in the grove, then you drive me off the land, terrified by my name alone, surely not my physique, nor what I've done. So he's saying to the citizens, the chorus, he's saying, how could I possibly hurt you? I'm an old man, and I can't hurt you by what I did in the past. Let Athens live up to its reputation. This play was for Athenians. Since my acts, at least, were acts of suffering more than actions outright. But I cannot bear to tell you the whole story of mother and father. That's what makes you fear me, well I know. But no, how could you call me guilty? How by nature? I was attacked. I was struck in self-defense. Why, even if I had known what I was doing, how could that make me guilty? But in fact, knowing nothing, no, I went the way I went. But the ones who made me suffer, they knew full well. They wanted to destroy me. So Oedipus is saying, I killed Laius in self-defense. I was attacked, and I responded, and even if I had known it was my father, I acted so quickly that I couldn't have prevented it. So how could you be afraid of me when I did something that I didn't even know had the importance that it did at the time? I had no knowledge. And he says, those who made me suffer, they knew full well. They wanted to destroy me, and here he is referring to the gods. So Oedipus acted without knowledge, but the gods acted with knowledge. So strangers, I beg you by the gods with the same kindness that raised me up before, save me now. Never honor the gods in one breath and take the gods for fools the next. Remember they are watching over us always, eyes trained on the mortals who respect them, eyes trained on the worst transgressors. There is no escape ever, not for a single godless man, in all the world. Now with the gods' help, don't cloud the fame, the radiance of Athens, don't descend to naked acts of outrage. But just as you have taken up the suppliant, pledged yourselves, rescue, guard me to the end. Don't reject me as you look into the horror of my face, these sockets raked and blind. I come as someone sacred, someone filled with piety and power, bearing a great gift for all your people. And when your ruler comes, whoever is your leader, you will hear it all and know it all. And meanwhile, as we wait together, do not be unjust. So Oedipus says, I know I don't look like it, and I know I have a reputation, but I actually come with piety and power and bearing a great gift. And I want to give that gift to you. It's a great gift that can bless you and a gift that you'll use in the years to come. And again, that's pointing to the battle between Athens and Thebes later on. Okay, now where to go from here? There's another section where the chorus revisits that Oedipus had not only killed his father, but he had also married his mother and had children by her. So his daughters are actually his sisters as well. And so the chorus is appalled by that, which we are not is not surprising. But again, Oedipus maintains his defense. And he says, it's something I did unknowingly. It's something that, had I known, I never would have done it. But it was something that was beyond my knowledge. All right. So, last section to cover today is between Oedipus, a conversation between Oedipus and King Theseus. King Theseus is benevolent. He treats Oedipus very kindly, not at all what Oedipus expects. So this is on page 318. Theseus. In the old days, I often heard your legend, the bloody mutilation of your eyes. I know all about you, son of Laius. And now, seeing you at this crossroads, beyond all doubt I know you in the flesh. Your rags, your ravaged face, it's all too clear. They show me who you are. And in all compassion I would ask you, Oedipus, doom-struck Oedipus, why are you here? What appeal do you bring to Athens and to me, you and the young girl helpless at your side? Tell me all. Your story, your fortunes, would have to be grim indeed to make me turn my back on you. I remember well, was reared in exile just like you and in strange lands, like no man else on earth. I grappled dangers pressing for my life. Never, I tell you, I will never shrink from a stranger, lost as you are now, or fail to lend a hand and save a life. I am only a man, well I know, and I have no more power over tomorrow, Oedipus, than you. What humility is written for King Theseus, a way of saying that, Oedipus, I know all this happened to you, but it could have been me. I'm a man, I have no power over tomorrow. It easily could have been me, and so I will not turn my back on you, but I will help you. Oedipus. Oh, Theseus, so magnanimous, so noble, your few words spare me the need to draw things out at length. Who I am and the father who gave me life and my native land, you name them all exactly. So now there is nothing left for me to tell but my desire, and then the story's finished. Theseus. Yes, tell me that. I want to know. Oedipus. I come with a gift for you, my own shattered body. No feast for the eyes, but the gains it holds are greater than great beauty. So Oedipus points to himself and says, I know it's hard to believe, but in this body I come bearing you a gift. Theseus. Gains? What do you claim to carry with you? Oedipus. Soon you will learn it all. Not quite yet, I think. Theseus. And when will the gifts you offer come to light? There's that word again, light, that figured so heavily into Oedipus, the king. Oedipus. I'll bring it all to light. Oedipus. When I am dead, and you have put my body in the grave, and not until then. Theseus. You ask for the final things of life, but all between you wipe from memory or count as nothing. Oedipus. True. There, in that last kindness, I harvest all the rest. So in his death, he harvests all the other, the things that he either counts as nothing or wipes from memory. What's really important to him is his death, not the rest of his life. Theseus. Then the gift you ask of me is very little. So Theseus is saying, you just want me to bury you here? Well, that's easy enough. Oedipus. Oh, beware, there is nothing slight about it. Not the struggle it will breed. So King Theseus, you may be in for a fight. I'm going to skip down from there and go to page 321, toward the bottom. Oedipus is referencing his sons and how his sons want his body. Well, sorry, not that they want his body, that he was exiled from his country by his sons. Theseus. Then how could they call you home to settle you outside? Oedipus. A god, the voice of a god is forcing them on. Theseus. What do they fear? What dreadful prophecies? Oedipus. Thebes is doomed to be struck down in this land, meaning when Thebes attacks Athens at a later date. Theseus. And how on earth could conflict ever come between your city and mine? Remember, they're at peace right now. Thebes and Athens are at peace, so Theseus can't envision that they would be at war. Why would Thebes attack? Oedipus. O Theseus, dear friend, only the gods can never age. The gods can never die. All else in the world, almighty time obliterates, crushes all to nothing. So in other words, Oedipus is saying only the gods never change. Political relationships do change, and eventually war is going to come. Creon will threaten war. The earth's strength wastes away. The strength of a man's body wastes and dies. Faith dies, and bad faith comes to life. And the same wind of friendship cannot blow forever, holding steady and strong between two friends, much less between two cities. For some of us soon, for others later, joy turns to hate and back again to love. And even if all is summer sunshine now between yourself and Thebes, Infinite time, sweeping through its rounds, gives birth to infinite nights and days. And a day will come when the treaties of an hour and the pacts firmed with a hand clasp will snap. At the slightest word, a spear will hurl them to the winds. Some far off day when my dead body, slumbering, buried cold in death, will drain their hot blood down, if Zeus is still Zeus, and Apollo the son of God speaks clear and true. Enough. It's no pleasure to break the silence of these mysteries. Let me end where I began. Just defend your word to the last, and you will never say you welcomed Oedipus for nothing, a useless citizen in this land of yours, unless the gods defeat my dearest hope. So, Theseus, just keep your promise. Keep your promise that you will protect me and bury me here, and it will all come true. You will prevail. Theseus answers, such kindness, who could reject such a man? First, in any case, Oedipus is our ally. By mutual rights, we owe him hospitality. What's more, he has come to beg our gods for help and render no small benefit to our country in return, to me as well. So I respect his claims. I'll never reject the gifts he offers. No, I will settle him in our land, a fellow citizen with full rights. So, he is going to be faithful to Oedipus. He's going to count Oedipus as one of them and protect him. And that commitment will be tested when Creon comes to attack and to drag Oedipus back by force. And that comes, we'll start with that next week. We'll start about on page 328 or so next week, and when Creon comes to Athens. And I will send an email. Well, you've probably already seen the email, so you know what's coming up this week. Finish Oedipus at Colonus if you have not already. And I'll have another lecture on the rest of the book coming up next week. Bless you.